all-time, all defensive first team. We're doing this sort of like a draft. We're not choosing our team right away. So that being said, if one person picks a player, the next person cannot. But at the end, we're going to explain how we're going to get these teams to work defensively, how they work together. It's not just random names. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to really do something here, something a little different. So I'm going to go to Frankie first. So Frankie, who is the first player off the board for you?
Oh, man, this is tough. First pick is a lot of pressure for all defense. I don't think this guy is the best defender of all time. He's up there, but I think if you want to make it work on both ends, you got to go with the best guy, and this guy definitely has the accolades. One of the only guards to win a DPOY. One of the best at steals. Very versatile defensively. Michael Jordan, his airness, could guard point of attack, could guard on the wing. Could play up his big ass hands, his athleticism. He was just an incredible player to watch, and he beat the Monstars by himself. So like, what else is there to say? He's one of the greatest to ever do it, arguably the greatest to ever do it. And he was not a slouch on defense by any means. And I would very much like to start my team with Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and to expound on that a little bit, and not to compare eras, because I also don't do that. There's too many differences within eras, but I do want to say for Michael, because there's a lot of, you know what I mean, and it's fully understandable that if you expend a lot of energy on defense, you may struggle offensively, and vice versa, because we do have to begin to view these players like humans who play basketball. And no matter how much you work out in the summer, you got adrenaline going in games. You get tired. And so to be able to do both things at a high level is insane. And so to think that Michael Jordan in 1988 won Defensive Player of the Year and averaged 35 points a game, like
ridiculous.
What can you even say to that? What can you even say to that? And so I'll go next. Frankie didn't go best defensive player of all time. I will do that, at least in my opinion. And I'm going to go with Dennis Rodman. So you talk about the original being able to guard 1 through 5. And I'm going to mention some older names because I watch older games. I'm on the NBA app. If it was played between 1979 and today, I probably saw it. Or I probably saw that team in some capacity at least. And so I've seen Dennis Rodman shut down point guards, and I've seen him give Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a real hard time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was about 7'3". Dennis Rodman was about 6'7" and 210 pounds. Mm-hmm. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had trouble scoring on him. Magic Johnson had trouble getting past half court on him. This is arguably the greatest point guard of all time. And it's just Dennis Rodman kind of gets left behind because of not only him not scoring the ball, but he gets viewed as he did it like the guy who partied a lot, the guy who went out a whole bunch, but he doesn't really get mentioned as a 5-time NBA champion a whole lot. And to win championships, you need an elite defense. And Dennis Rodman was the anchor of every defense that won those championships, including 1989, where he went against the Lakers and shut down Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Two-time DPOY.
And so it's just like, man, greatest defender of all time, in my opinion.
I'm not going to argue.
Lou?
No, you're not going to get an argument from me. I'm gonna take this a different route because I'm gonna go by a position of scarcity. Now I don't want to say scarcity. I just think the position where I think by far like this player is the best defender at this position, and that is the glove. His name is literally what it is Gary Payton. Talk about just absolutely destroying game plans offensively at the point of attack, just being in lanes, pickpocketing, doing everything while still carrying a load offensively, obviously. it's Gary Payton. He was literally brought back at 37 years old by Shaq to the Miami Heat just so he could play some defense for him and help him out. He was doing that throughout his entire career, from his Supersonics days to, well beyond that. And it was just he was one of the most prolific defenders, one of the peskiest dudes in the league. And that is why I'm taking him with my first pick, man, at the point guard position. Because I feel like the point guard position, there is some good defenders, but I feel like personally, Gary Payton is probably just a slight edge over everybody else. It's probably
Great
him.
pick.
Yeah.
Great pick.
I'm going to correct myself real quick. Remember, it's late at night when we're recording this. So it was actually the 1988 finals, and the Pistons lost. But the point still stands. Dennis Rodman was out there guarding Magic Johnson, and he was out there guarding Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he was doing a great job on both of them. And we'll do sort of a snake draft this time. So, Lou, you can go ahead and pick again.
Oh, man. So I'm gonna accompany Gary Payton with somebody who I think also has every ounce of that dog in him, and that is Ben Wallace. I was gonna save it because there's a lot of very good big men, but I got to take the guy who leads the NBA all time in defensive player of the years, a man who came into the league undrafted and literally headlined the Pistons defense for damn near a decade to slightly above that, like just making them literally like just unstoppable on that end, helping them accomplish championships, morph to any scheme. He was about 6'9", 6'10-ish. Like, he wasn't the biggest dude at this time because, at this time it wasn't like, small ball fives were a thing or any of that, especially when you're going up against the Shaqs of the world and, different players of that mold. And he was still holding his own, shutting everything down. The ultimate hustle player. Like, he made a living on that end of the floor, and that is why I will be taking him with my second pick.
Okay, so my second pick, I'm going to go with a big man who is known for his offense, but should have some credit for his defense, and that big man is Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes, sir.
You can get into whether you rank him as greatest big of all time. I don't know. I don't really care about that. But defensively, when you talk about a center you can rely on for about 5 stocks, who can get out and guard the perimeter at above 7 feet, who can, like I said, protect the paint, not shut down point guards necessarily, but hold his own. And if he does get blown by, he had the athleticism and the instincts to recover, who didn't fall for pump fakes, we know how proficient he was on offense, how he was the same way on defense, as far as the discipline, as far as reading his opponent, as far as reading what's going to happen on the floor. He's somebody who just doesn't get the credit he deserves necessarily in general, but especially defensively. To be able to average 4 blocks a game and not go for blocks like that is crazy enough. And then to also be able to steal the ball, to be able to pickpocket guards if they come near you. It's like, man, he had to get some credit at some point on this show in some way. And best all-time defensive team, he has to be on it.
Yeah.
I love this. The idea of the snake draft even better because I get to you guys both picked your center. I can wait on my center later. Now I'm going to take advantage and take the guy with the most all defense of all time, Tim Duncan.
Damn it. Motherfucker. I'll be damned.
He's I still feel like he's an underrated defender somehow. Just because he's not a flashy guy. He was never a flashy player, never a super exciting player in the terms of like athletic explosion, verticality, but just one of the most fundamentally sound players of all time. Just smart, knew where to be all the time. And he was one of the funniest shit talkers of all time, just telling him, hey, try better next time. And kicking your ass while doing it. The championships speak for themselves. I feel like he should have won more. One more like recognition defensively. I don't even remember if he got a deep boy. He got 8 first team all defenses, and that's from 99 to 2008. And he was still getting deep all defense second team in 2015. From 1999 to 2015, he was an all defensive level player in the NBA. Never won a DPOY. It doesn't look like.
No, never did.
That's incredible. One of the greatest players to ever do it on both ends, and his defense was impeccable. Now, defensively, I was going to pick Rodman. You took that from me, Kenny. Let's go for the second guy. I'm going to go with a guy who has a lot of all defensive teams too. 5th all time, one of the greatest guys to ever play, one of the greatest sidekicks to ever do it. I'm going to pair him with his airness because he's on my team too. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen switching on to Magic Johnson won them their first championship, guarding them, shutting it down. Him and MJ just harassing Magic, not letting them get anywhere. Pippen, big hands, super athletic, could guard 1 through 4, could front the post, could stop point of the attack, could, when he, and defensively, like when he had the mindset of shutting somebody down and embarrassing them. We've all seen the Dream Team. We've all seen what they did to Tony Kukoc. Scottie Pippen. I want Scottie Pippen with Magic Johnson, with Michael Jordan and Tim Duncan to round out my team, my core.
That's crazy.
So I'm gonna go a little more recent, just a little more recent. You know what I mean? This is somebody who also doesn't get a ton of credit. It's mostly because of look, he's not all there. You know what I mean? He's a little like there's people who live outside the box, people who live off the rails. But you gotta love him, you gotta respect him. I'm going with Ron Artest. Now, he doesn't get the credit he deserves necessarily, and it's like watching those games and watching those series and the players he was able to give trouble, whether it was LeBron James, whether it was Dwayne Wade, whether it was Kobe Bryant, whether it was whoever it was, because you're talking about somebody who was 6'7", 200, sometimes 260 pounds, but no fat. And just being able to slide his feet, being able to guard 5 positions. He had the quickest and strongest hands in the league at some point. If he could have kept it together with his temper, he'd get a lot more credit. But it's like I'm going to give him that credit regardless because there's not a lot of people in NBA history who could guard 1 through 5, whether on ball, off ball, wherever you put them. And Ron Artest is one of those people on that very small list. And the strength is what set him apart from everybody because he could overpower guards. And even if you were big trying to post him up, you had trouble getting position. And his defensive IQ is also something that goes underrated because you just don't consider IQ with somebody who has that temper, but you can never say Ron Artest didn't know basketball.
Absolutely.
And so not only just the physical stuff, being able to slide his feet, it's the making the correct rotations, helping at the right times, whether it was hedging or recovering, whatever it was, just playing perfect defense at all times. And even if he did get scored on, it was very tough. And so my pick this time around is Ron Artest, for sure.
One of the only guy, I think he's the only guy still that his signature shoe was him in a defensive stance.
and it makes sense. And it makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great pick.
I got 2 picks back to back here. So I'm gonna go with the Claw, Kawhi Leonard. I know you got Scottie Pippen. I wish I could get him, but I think I'm gonna get probably, somebody who's on par with him. 2 defensive player of the years for somebody who hasn't even been healthy his whole career and has had a short one at that. Only played 659 games. As a 21-year-old, was giving LeBron James every kind of problem defensively. The famous clip has been, we brought it up on the show, LeBron saying fuck, and he wasn't even in the game. He was just checking in. And the finals, it's just what he does, man, defensively during his peak, specifically in the Spurs days, even after, even now, obviously the moments don't come as often because he's tasked to do certain other things, but defensively, just a menace, like strong as an ox. You couldn't move him, can guard legitimately 1 through 5. Most 5s, probably not all of them, but still just very switchable, versatile defender in lanes, very heady, more steals than fouls, ridiculous. And I'm gonna add some size to this team at the power forward position. I'm going Kevin Garnett. I gotta have me a shit talker. To me, you there's no way you can have an all defensive team without having somebody who has shit talking. I got him and Gary Payton, so good luck. So it's Kevin Garnett. I mean, shit. Everybody should know what he was able to do defensively. A lot of players mold their ways literally after him, what he was able to do in Minnesota, and then obviously once he got to Boston, what he was able to do there. But just one of the best rim side, like weak side rim protectors the league had seen up until that point. 7 feet tall, closed out defensive possessions, was a crazy stocks guy while still being responsible for just about everything offensively. During this era, really the last time the Minnesota Timberwolves were good, aside from this year, was when Kevin Garnett was on that team. So that should just be enough to tell you his battles with Tim Duncan, his battles with Dirk. Like he was, it wasn't like he was guarding like easy peasy positions every day. Like he was getting put through the gauntlet. Chris Webber, Elton Brand, like all these players, and he was out there like he was just doing his thing every single night, night in, night out. So KG is my power forward for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so now, and look, keep in mind, I watch old games, you know what I mean? And I need a shooting guard. Looking at the list of shooting guards, I feel like I know who Lou's gonna go with next for his. And so I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna leave it to him. And I'm gonna just go with Michael Cooper. And I understand, not a big name, you know what I mean? Played in an era where I also wasn't born yet, but I do my research, I know my history, I watch these games. So when you look at those Showtime Laker teams, and they changed basketball in a sense with the pace they played at, that all started with Michael Cooper on the other end, because Magic Johnson, as great of a player he was not a defender. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as great of a rim protector as he was, the defensive versatility wasn't there necessarily. Michael Cooper was the engine to that defense, and we're talking about a team who split running an era, or running a decade as far as winning championships, and it's common knowledge that you need defense for championships. You need one of the best defenses in the league to win a championship, and Michael Cooper was out there just shutting guys down at, I wouldn't say 1 through 5, because he was a very wiry and small player. He couldn't really handle fives that well. He held his own in a sense sometimes. But to be able to guard 1 through 4, to be able to take the tough assignments, so a Magic Johnson could have all the energy in the world to lead all these fast breaks, to be able to get those steals and get those deflections that would lead to those fast breaks. For me, with Michael Cooper, is not just what he did on defense, it's what his defense led to. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to salute him, because he's not somebody who gets a ton of attention or a ton of respect for the player he was in general, especially the defender. And on last episode, I did forget to mention he did win Defensive Player of the Year in '87. So he's one of very few guards to win it. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give him that respect, because he doesn't ever really get it.
No argument for me.
Deserve it.
Go ahead,
Frankie.
All right, so I'm going back and forth with my guards because I don't know who Kenny's going to pick for the one. There's a lot of great candidates. I'm going to start with my center first because I could get to talk about some honorable mentions. Dwight Howard was an all-time great, 3 in a row. Rudy Gobert's doing it. A lot of great things defensively. Current era, we got to shout out Alonzo Mourning, 3-time DPOY. A lot of great guys. I'm going to go who wants to sex Mutombo. Come on. Dikembe Mutombo.
No.
The finger wag, 4-time DPOY, tied most all time. Doing it in the 90s where, you had to do it against Hakeem, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Zoe, like Shaq. Like you had to face the some of the premier big men of all time. So I'm going to go with Mutombo, and I'm not going to regret it at all. Point guard, a lot of great guys, but I'm going to go with a throwback guy. Dennis Johnson has 9 all defense selections, 6 first team. He was the point guard for the Boston Celtics in the 80s. One of the greatest defenders to ever do it. The steal by Bird was started by Dennis Johnson and got the steal, the layup. one of the greatest to ever do it. A lot of great candidates. And I want to let Kenny talk more about it when he makes his pick, but there's a lot of great point guards. It's not just Gary Payton, a lot of great point guard defenders out there. And it's arguably one of the hardest positions to guard because of because you're 95% of the time you're at the front of the line and everything's happening behind you. You got to be able to be aware of screens and navigation and everything. And that's one of the hardest things to do in basketball. Anybody who's had a screen set on them and their big man didn't call it and you ran into that screen, what I'm talking about. But Dennis Johnson, respect, one of the greatest to ever do it.
And so my point guard, and I had two I was going to choose. I knew Gary Payton was going to be I knew he was going
for
first
sure.
For the point guard.
For sure.
So my point guard, I'm going to also go a little older, and I'm going to have to go John Stockton. Now, the off-the-court stuff, look, I'm not getting into all the vaccine stuff, and I'm not having that conversation. I'm talking basketball, and as far as John Stockton goes, the way he looked would kind of mislead you as far as the kind of defender he was. White guy, like crazy 80s white guy haircut, short shorts after they were stopped being cool for a long time. And he was pretty small, or at least seemed that way. But his lower body strength and being able to surprisingly guard up at times, you couldn't set a screen on him. He had the defensive IQ to where he was physical in a way to where he wouldn't get foul calls, but you would still feel the pressure from him. You would still leave the game with some bumps and bruises, which being able to do that on defense, especially in an era like that, it is a positive attribute because it takes a lot of smarts and a lot of IQ to be able to get away with that stuff. And it's not even just getting away with stuff. It was also his instincts. He's, if I'm not mistaken, an all-time leader in steals, and that is not a fluke. He had great hands. He had great instincts on ball and off ball, getting in passing lanes. Like I said, being physical on ball and just having guys kind of lose sight of where the ball was, even if they were dribbling, being able to get into guys, being able to use his lack of height to his advantage, being low to the ground and close to the ball, being able to time those steals and get a hand on them when the dribble was on the way up, like you're supposed to do. He was just an incredible defender, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. One, because of how he looks. Two, the era he played in, and also a two-way guy. We're talking about defense right now, so we don't have to get into him. You know what I mean? Being able to be relied on for 14 assists a game, but a lot of that pace. It wasn't just the pick and roll with Karl Malone, who we definitely not talking about his off the court stuff. But it wasn't just pick and roll. It was a lot of stuff. Was also started from John Stockton's defense and getting those deflections, getting those steals, and so I have to give him some credit for that as well. So he's my part around my team.
Great pick.
No, absolutely. And for to close off, I believe this entire draft, I have to go. I need a shooting guard. This player is like a 2-3 tweener. There's some great talent left on the board. Some honorable mentions, guys like Tony Allen, who I'm not picking, Kobe Bryant, who I'm not currently picking, Dwayne Wade, who I'm not picking. I'm going with LeBron James, but I'm going with Bruce Bowen. Talk about a man who is literally his sole job throughout his entire NBA career was that's their best player. We need you to guard him. For 36 minutes that you're going to play. And Bruce Bowen, you could say a lot of great things about him, not many offensively. So it wasn't like this, it wasn't like he was out there because he was a two-way player, so he was given a chance. No. He had one task and one task only, and he did that to a T. He has 8 all-NBA, all defensive selections, and just an absolute menace, dug into players in all kinds of ways, guarded from 1 through 3 essentially as well as anybody did in the league for that amount of time. It helped that he had Tim Duncan behind him. Now he has Kevin Garnett and Ben Wallace. So,
man. And so to round things up, so my all-time all-defensive team is John Stockton at the 1, Michael Cooper at the 2. I had Ron Artest at the 3, Dennis Rodman at the 4, Hakeem Olajuwon at the 5.
Mm.
We're switching everything if we need to, depending on the matchup. If not, we can also have Hakeem in the drop. Look, and if you think you're going to just post John Stockton up and just take advantage of him, that's not how that works. he wasn't that guy. That wasn't going to happen with him. And it's just a lot of defensive versatility. I really wanted some versatility on my team. And this is a tough thing. Listen, if you just listening and you think it's not, we still have to. If somebody picks our guys, we still have to make these teams be able to work defensively, and we have to come up with how we will make it work. So it's not an easy thing. And so, man, my team got a lot of defensive versatility, a lot of defensive ability, a lot of deflections, a lot of block shots. My team is tough to score on.
Yep.
100%.
Right.
I'll go next. Real quick, a couple guys we didn't mention. Jason Kidd, 9-time all defense. Chris Paul, 9-time all defense. Bobby Jones, 9-time all defense. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 11-time. Kobe, 12-time. Draymond, multiple time Depoy, Giannis. Like, there's a lot of great defensive players that we couldn't mention, all of them. My starting 5: Dennis Johnson at the 1, Michael Jordan at the 2, Scottie Pippen at the 3, Tim Duncan at the 4, and Dikembe Mutombo at the 5.
So
I got my 2 and 3 are 2 of the best to ever do it, the best duo to ever do it. And they got Duncan, who can guard 4s and 5s, can switch, can move his feet laterally very well, stay in front of guys, and alter shots, quarterback the defense. Dikembe can fix anything the defense messes up if they ever do. And, Dennis Johnson, pesky player, competitor, winner, got one of the all-time steals leaders, and just a menace defensively. And I'm confident my team is going to get out and run and get a lot of steals and stops and go.
All right.
Yeah, and to round it off, my team, I got Gary Payton at the 1, I got Bruce Bowen at the 2, Kawhi at the 3, KG at the 4, and Ben Wallace. With this team, good luck trying to get by them. None of them are skinny, and they're not, and they're not going to give you an inch of space anywhere. We have people who can press on the ball literally from 1 through 5. Just about everybody's switchable except for maybe Gary Payton. You don't want him guarding centers, but I mean, it's not like we're going to let that happen that easily.
He still held his own also.
It's not like, if it's not like he's going to allow that switch to happen that easily. He's going to be able to get around those screens, and he's going to be able to affect things. And now obviously we have Bruce, on the wing with Kawhi, which good luck, I guess. And, Ben Wallace, menace defensively as a center. Maybe he's a little small, but don't worry. We got KG, who's damn near 7 feet behind him, ready to, if help is needed, help is provided, is what I'm trying to get at. So
I'm laughing at Lou's team because he's got Gary Payton, Ben Wallace, KG, and Bruce Bowen, 4 of the loudest, craziest defenders ever.
Hey.
And then he's got Kawhi,
because Kawhi's going to be the one. He doesn't need to talk. First of all, he never talks. But like, I got people talking shit. Kawhi's like, hey. He's just having a blast out there because nobody can score. But no, for real. One of the reasons I picked this team too is I think in order for it's just a different edge to it when you're talking shit on defense, man. Like it is what it is. Like, some players are in the league for a lot longer than they should be sometimes, just because they're talking shit and playing defense. And getting in the opponent's head, and talk about a team that's going to get under your skin. Literally that's what I built my team on. Like, I want my
Gary
team
Payton and KG on the same team.
Yeah, Gary Payton, KG, and Ben and Bruce. Like, it's not going to be easy. And then Kawhi is not going to get under your skin because he's talking shit. He's going to get under your skin because you can't get by him. So it is what it is.
Bruce Bowen, one of the dirtiest players of all time, too.
He used to dig his nails. Hey, that was my dad's favorite player. The reason he made me start watching basketball, believe it or not, was because
he's one of the iconic players too, though, because more like transcendent players, because that was the era where you had to start spacing the floor, and he was really that first 3-and-D guy, led the league in shooting, and that became a whole role, and that was Bruce Bowen.
to give Bruce Bowen credit also, with us being Heat fans and kind of knowing people on, I don't want to say on the inside, like, oh, y'all know Dwayne Wade. No, we know people who reported on the Miami Heat for a long time. And so just knowing how Bruce Bowen started out, not being able to hit a shot at all, and not being able to keep a spot in Miami because of that, and then going on to San Antonio and, like you said, becoming the transcendent 3-and-D guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most valuable commodities in the league today. And so just giving Bruce Bowen some credit on that because he definitely deserves it.